Yeah, I hope you can see my slides right now. So thanks again, Chitra. I think really grateful for including me in this session. So I'm going to be speaking about a topic that is really close to my heart, which is about PRK and Haze for a number of reasons. So what is important to remember when you're talking about post-PRK and Haze is there are several different kinds of haze that you need to remember, and how do you identify them? There is early onset haze that tends to occur in the first few months after PRK. And then there is late onset haze, also called breakthrough corneal haze, which tends to occur later on after the first 3 months after PRK. Typically, it is limited to the optic zone where you ablate. And the typical appearance is it is granular or stippled. So early or transient haze tends to be more diffuse, tends to be in a wider area, and tends to be more uniform. Whereas late or persistent haze tends to have the kind of appearance which almost appears as if it is elevated above the surface. So it's also important to differentiate this kind of haze from a scar that occurs inside the cornea. The configuration and the appearance are different. And one of the best methods to differentiate these two is to look at the OCT. Post-PRK haze is always subepithelial or at the level of the previous Bowman's layer, whereas scarring can occur at whatever level the stroma has been affected by any intervention that you might have performed. So that's the difference between scar and haze. So why does haze occur? Again, I'm not going to bore you with some basic science slides, but again, it's very important to understand wound healing after PRK to understand why haze occurs. For the cornea, it does not know the difference between an injury and a surgery, and it reacts the same way to surgery as it does to an injury. So in the first 4 hours after a PRK surgery is done, there is apoptosis or loss of keratocytes in the zone immediately below the ocular surface, and sometimes extending up to 250 to 300 microns from the surface, which is what you'll see with the tunnel reddish stain here with the keratocytes. In some time, about 72 hours or later, these keratocytes that actually are left behind the zone of apoptosis start to become transformed into fibroblasts. And these move anteriorly, and these actually initiate the sequence of haze. So haze actually occurs because of the synthesis of new extracellular matrix in the subepithelial area. And that's why you need to prevent it or control this mechanism. And early on, this control is achieved by either using mitomycin C to prevent the conversion of these keratocytes into activated fibroblasts, and also the use of steroids to reduce the synthesis of new extracellular matrix. So how common is haze? Haze actually is not very common. The time to diagnosis for early haze is about 2 months after surgery. For severe or late haze is about 4 to 6 months after surgery. Also, it's important to know that higher myopia who undergo PRK tend to have a slightly higher incidence of haze as compared to those who are lower myopes. Interestingly, astigmatism is an independent risk factor for development of haze, and high astigmatism also means there is a higher chance of developing haze after surgery. What about age? There doesn't seem to be any correlation between age and haze, can occur in any age, but one of the most important characteristics of haze is it tends to develop in patients who we do not use mitomycin C, and it tends to occur less in patients where mitomycin C is used for a longer duration. In fact, mitomycin C seems to be the biggest factor in reducing the relative risk of haze after PRK surgery. So is the concentration of mitomycin C important? Again, there's very little data here, but it seems that whether you use 0.02% or 0.002%, apparently it seems to have the same effect. And there are similar studies with 0.01% as well. So are there alternatives to mitomycin? There have been several alternatives that have been studied, but it seems that mitomycin C probably has the greatest efficacy in reducing the amount of haze after PRK at this point of time. What about steroids? Using steroids, again, is fundamental to preventing haze. And it seems as if the first 6 months of using steroids after PRK is very important. For mild to moderate myopia, essential to use steroids for about 3 months. For higher myopia, for about 6 months. There also are individual publications about the kind of steroids. It doesn't seem to matter whether you use very strong steroids or very weak steroids. The duration is more important than steroids. And steroids are also found to be more effective as compared to topical agents such as cyclosporin at reducing haze. So how much does haze affect vision? Interestingly, haze does affect vision to a certain extent, but only if it is severe. And in fact, if you look at controls versus those who had haze, if you look at the higher order aberrations, they don't seem to be very much higher in those patients with haze. And in fact, if you look at the graph on the right side, where the blue bars are those are the controls, the red are those of the haze, the controls actually seem to have higher order aberrations as compared to those with haze, except coma. Coma seems to be higher in those patients who have haze. So when we looked at our data at LVP, where we do about 60% of PRK surgery at this point of time, compared to only about 30% of LASIK, we found that we have an even distribution of where we do our PRKs, but the largest number of PRK patients were between 3 and 6 diopters of myopia. Mean spherical equivalent in the 4 groups was as shown, and we tried to compare the outcomes of PRK in 4 different groups of patients. We found that the uncorrected visual acuity was similar, whether the myopia was 0 to 3, 3 to 6, or 6 to 9 diopters. Similarly, accuracy was very similar between these groups as well, and stability was very similar in these groups as well. What was interesting is in the high myopes, where we had PRK for more than 9 diopters, the stability was a little lower as the accuracy was a little lower as compared to those who had very low myopia, which is expected just because of the amount of myopia. But when it came to haze, we found that those patients who had moderate to severe haze did not seem to be correlated with very high or low myopia. Moderate haze was equally present in all groups 0 to 3 as well as more than 9. Severe haze was more frequent in those patients who had high myopia as compared to those who had low myopia. And in fact, the numbers were very low. And over time, the haze tend to resolve by itself even without intervention. And when we looked at the number of patients that we had to intervene in, of close to 14,000 eyes that underwent PRK in the last 5 years, we found that only about 0.15% of post-PRK patients required an intervention. And of this group of patients, about 3/4 required intervention because of residual or because of refractive error issues, and only about 30% required repeat PRK or repeat PTK because of haze. So only 6 out of close to 14,000 eyes needed surgery for post-PRK haze, and this was an incidence of only 0.04%, which is extremely low. We also found that time to recovery because of early onset haze was slightly more delayed in higher myopes as compared to lower myopes. So the higher the myopia, the longer the wait for resolution of haze. How do you treat haze? Well, it seems as if the best method to treat haze that is visually significant is to do a PTK in these corneas. And you can do this by using OCT to help you decide depth of the ablation. And usually the outcomes are extremely good visually. Refractive corrections may not be as predictable after PRK. So this is the same patient immediately after the PTK was done. And this patient, you see, has complete removal of the haze that occurred post-PRK surgery. So to summarize about post-PRK haze, it seems that early onset haze is usually transient and does not require any intervention. Late onset haze is actually quite rare, and I don't think we need to worry about it if you're doing PRK in the mid-range or lower range of patients who have myopia. But it is important to remember that it is easier to prevent haze than to treat haze. And that's the reason why it's important to focus on using mitomycin C during surgery and also steroids for a significant duration of time after surgery. And to end, PTK is a good option in case you have post-PRK haze and usually results in very good outcomes, though the patient might have some amount of refractive error. Thank you very much.